I've been in the industry for about 20 years, and this has sort of been my life's passion. I'm hoping with this flight to sort of show the world that, this is something that's actually going to soon be available for everyone. So about 4 or 5 years ago, I knocked on Blue Origin's door and I said, let me know when can I get a ticket? And I nagged them pretty much every month for about 4 or 5 years. And a couple of months ago, they gave me a call and said, hey, we're opening things up. Do you want to go? So here we are.
Wow, that's the sort of call. I mean, the rest of us haven't even jumped on a commercial flight for years, let alone anything this exciting. So, of course, the whole thing is going to be exciting from, getting on to getting off. How long will the entire experience actually last?
Yeah, so this one's pretty quick. So this is what they call a suborbital rocket. And so it doesn't go up into orbit. It doesn't rotate around the Earth. It shoots straight up as high as it can. And then we float around weightless for about 4 or 5 minutes, and then we come back down to the Earth with some massive parachutes. So the whole thing is somewhere between 12 and 15 minutes. Rockets are really, really powerful and really, really quick. So if I don't pay attention, I might miss something important.
Yeah. Well, that's my next question. What do you get to look at? Do you watch the instruments? Do you look out the window? I mean, what do you actually plan to do for those few minutes up in space?
Well, the one thing you can't get any other way is to look down on the Earth from space. So I want to see the blackness of space. I want to see the thin line of the atmosphere. I want to look down on the Earth, and pretty much my commitment for my whole time I'm up there is to just not get distracted and really soak in that really unique experience that only to date just under 600 people have experienced.
So in terms of you'll just be strapped in as a passenger. Do you know your other guests on the flight?
Yeah, I met one of them on the weekend, a guy named Glenn DeFries, and he's a wonderful innovator in the medical software space. But it turns out he's also been a secret space fan for years and has worked his really hard to get on this flight as well. And so he's like a really cool guy, and looking forward to meeting him in Texas in a few weeks and talking about space with him and riding up with him, I guess.
And of course, in the meantime, you've been busy doing actual work with NASA. Just give us an idea of some of the projects you've been working on.
Yeah, I think one of the coolest things I did was we put an actual smartphone in space. So at the time, which is, that was a few years ago now, but most satellites fly really old computers and old stuff because it's flown in space before, so NASA trusts it. So what we did was go right to the cutting edge and take the best computer device we could get, which was actually an Android phone, put it in a small box and put it into orbit as a free-flying satellite. And so for about $3,000 and about $70,000 US to launch a satellite into space, we had the most powerful satellite in orbit that had ever been put in orbit, because we jumped right to the cutting edge of technology. So that was pretty cool, and that paved the way for the company I ended up starting with some friends of mine, which is a mapping company that actually today, with cheaper satellites, maps the whole world every day.
So as we know, I'm old enough to remember when flat screen TVs were, $30,000. So you're working on getting products to be cheaper. Are we allowed to ask what a seat is costing on this flight?
It wasn't too expensive, but I did have to save up for a very, very long time to afford it. Very, very long time. But, my hope is that the cost will, come down by half every year. And before long, even you can go. And if you're interested, let's go up together. I think it'll be wonderful.
So what is next in terms of flights? You say we're a long way away from just, getting on board like British Airways. But this is something, as you said, you've dreamed about since you were a kid. So I assume the gap is getting narrower and narrower where we can actually jump on board and go and visit the space.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a few passengers right now. And, but I think it really is the beginning of something truly wonderful. If you think about, jet airplanes, remember the jumbo jet and the jet age? If in the 1960s you had gotten on a plane and flown to Paris, you were like a local hero. And that was a big deal. And so, passenger airplane flights internationally were inaccessible in the 50s and 60s, started to become affordable in the late 70s and 80s. And now we don't even think about it when we jump on a plane and, fly somewhere for the weekend. So I think that took about 50 years. So I just think people need to be a little patient and wait. But before long in the history of the human race, this is really just around the corner. And I think it's like really exciting and the start of something really magical for the whole species.